All right, welcome everyone. Hi, I'm so excited for tonight's call. I'm Debora Wayne. If you don't know me, I'm the founder of the International Chronic Pain Institute. And welcome to High Speed Healing Wednesdays. We have lots of people here in my Zoom room, and welcome to everyone on Facebook Live. Tonight, whoa, the topic tonight is very near and dear to my heart. I'm going to be talking about addictions. All kinds of addictions. Addiction practically killed me, and it saved me, and it helped me find myself and my purpose in life. And I know that sounds bizarre, but tonight I am going to share a bit about my story, what happened to me, what I discovered that I had no clue about that almost killed me, and then how that totally opened up the doorway to everything that I am doing today, all my work, my health, my happiness, my sanity, my serenity. It all came as a result of addictions. Imagine that. So if you've been suffering, or someone that you love is suffering from drinking, drugging, smoking, sexing, shopping, spending, gambling, eating, any type of addiction, please, please, I cannot stress enough, do not give up hope. I know how horrible it is. It is not a pretty ride. It is not a fun ride. It is the e-ticket to hell in many cases. And it's very, very difficult to live with people who are suffering and struggling from addiction, and yourself, if it applies to you. I'm not saying it's easy, but I want to tell you that yes, you can recover. There are solutions. It takes work, but I am a living example. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm going to talk today about the things I've discovered that are the how to do it. All right. Because I have made a lot of mistakes along the way as well. And I want to save you from those mistakes and just help speed up your healing process so that you don't have to go down as far as I and many other people do. So the first thing I want to share with you is that I know, there's a lot of different opinions about addictions. So if you're looking for a black and white answer, you're not going to find that here. I'm going to give you my perspective, my knowledge, my experience, and take what you like and leave the rest. There are definitely different opinions about addiction and about what it means and about the recovery process. But I will share with you what has worked for me. And I've also, for over 30 years, been working in the field helping people recover. I'll share, a little more about that later, but I actually became, many years ago, a chemical dependency counselor after I got into my own recovery and was able to give back to other people in that way. And I've worked with people all these years and still do, both professionally and some volunteer work as well. And it's, there's a lot of different opinions about this. I certainly had opinions about it years ago, which is what kept me from getting help for a long time, because I had no alcoholism, no drug addiction in my family. There was no one around me saying, hey, you've got a problem with drinking and drugs. Nobody said that to me. I had a great job. I had a handsome husband. I had a huge house. I had all the stuff that money could buy. And I didn't really understand what addiction was. And I had the idea, tell me if any of you have ever thought similar. I thought that if you're a drug addict, you're a heroin addict and you're shooting needles in your arm. I thought if you were an alcoholic, you drank out of a brown bag and you lived under a bridge. Okay, anybody else but me have that opinion or idea or have that, image in your head? So I had this judgment, this idea about what addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction was like. And that didn't fit me. I functioned, I went to work, I earned a living, I paid my bills. right? So, oh, someone is telling me my camera's blurry. You know what? I noticed that too, but I wonder, all right, she's saying clean my camera lens. Let's try that and see if it helps. That is a little better. Does that look better to you? Looks better to me. All right, thank you for the suggestion. So it does look better. All right, thanks, Bridget. So, I did not grow up with any alcoholism or addiction. I saw my father inebriated, really, really drunk one time. I was 6. I was 6. I'll never forget it. I thought he was going to die. He was throwing up. He was in bed. He had, I don't know, been to a party, and he was drunker than hell, and he was puking, and he was in his bed, and he couldn't stop throwing up, and I was terrified that he was going to die. And I sat on the floor by his bed the whole night till I fell asleep on the floor. And I've never saw him drunk again after that. Never. I've never seen my mother ever, ever, ever drunk. Never seen my sister or brother. I've never seen my sister even have a drink. I've seen my brother have a beer. I've never seen my family drunk. My extended family, they were not drinkers. So see, there are many ideas about, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but because there is some research showing that there's genetic predisposition to this, that it skips a generation, and that often it's, you'll see it in families. But I can tell you from my personal experience, this is not the case for me and many others that I know. So if you've been blaming it on your family, that they did it to you, I challenge you to that. Now, I joke about it. I joke about something here because my grandfather came to this country from Russia. His name when he changed it, when he came to the US, he changed his name to shorten it because he wanted to fit in and assimilate. And when he changed his name, guess what it meant in Russian? It meant wine glass. And so the cards were dealt. And I laugh about it, but I really don't believe there are accidents in the universe. There was meaning for that, to that. And it really did. It was a precursor to my experience. And there were other signs along the way, but again, I didn't know. When I was a little girl, my mother told me that at certain family functions, they would pass around a goblet of wine and they would give me a sip. And she would look at me and say, something happens to you when you drink wine. Now, first of all, it's odd that I remember that because my mother said a million things to me that I don't remember, but I remember that from when I was very small. Why would I remember that? And what did she notice? Because she obviously noticed something very distinctive. And what's interesting is that I remember my very first drink. And I hated alcohol. I thought it was disgusting. I thought it tasted terrible. It made me feel terrible. I didn't see what the big deal was. I wanted to throw up and I couldn't. And I thought, this is not for me. All right, so are you following me? Like, none of this is logical. None of this is reasonable. And none of it made any sense to me for a long, long time. Now, I also was terrified of drugs. And I went to a high school where everybody did drugs. It was very common. But I was terrified of them. And in fact, I remember this guy I was in love with in the 7th grade. He didn't know I was in love with him, by the way. But I was worried about him because I knew he smoked pot. And I thought he was going to end up in jail or dead. I was terrified. And 2 of my girlfriends and I, we would get together and we'd worry about him together, okay? So I was not, I was not the type of person that was seeking out drugs and seeking out drinking and seeking out overeating or anything like that. But something happened to me when I drank. And something happened to me when I did my first drugs. which did happen in about the end of the 7th grade. And here's what I want to really impress upon you today. If you hear nothing else that I say, I want you to remember this. Those of you in my community, and I see many familiar faces here today, you know that I talk about how pain, physical pain, for example, chronic physical pain, is a symptom of something deeper. There are hidden reasons for all types of physical pain. For anxiety, depression, even for any type of physical neck pain, back pain, everyone in my pain-free living program knows that they're probably like a broken record. They're used to hearing me say, let's go deeper. There's a hidden reason, and the symptoms are never the root cause of the problem. Let me repeat that. I suggest you write it down. The symptoms are never the root cause of the problem. That would be like having an orange tree in your yard, and the oranges are coming out brown and small and shriveled and falling off, and you can't eat them. There's just no edible fruit. So you take the vitamins, the minerals, the soil, the water, and you pour it over the oranges. You wouldn't do that, right? Because it wouldn't heal the oranges. You would have to go down deep to the roots of the tree, which are usually hidden from view, to heal the tree, which would nourish and produce great, wonderful, healthy fruit. The oranges are the symptoms. The roots are hidden below. So whether you have physical pain, emotional pain, whether you are addicted to alcohol, drugs, binge eating, gambling, can't stop shopping, can't stop sexing, can't stop smoking, or any other form of can't stop, it's a symptom of something deeper that's hidden from your view. And are you with me? Give me some yeses in the chat, in the Facebook, some hearts, some thumbs. Let me know. Are you following me? Are you with me so far? Are you open? Are you listening? Okay. I want to take a little poll real quick. I meant to do this earlier. In the either in the Q&A or the chat or on the Facebook chat, I'd like you to let me know, are you here because you are struggling with something, or someone you love is struggling with some form of addiction and you're worried about them? Or both? Lori's saying both. Okay, so a lot of boths already. Yeah, so are you worried about yourself, someone else, someone you love, or both? Yes, so your own addictive tendencies, someone you love, both. Oh yeah. So, like attracts like. I also found that to be true in my life. And in fact, as my addiction was progressing and I didn't know it, I would find myself only wanting to be around people like me because I was comfortable. I was much more comfortable. And as time went on, I didn't want to be around anyone who didn't drink. I thought they were just, I don't know, but I had a lot of judgment about them. And I didn't know that I was uncomfortable about them. I did not know that. But I did not want to be around those people. And so my world, changed. And what I want to just share with you is that, and here's where some opinions differ. Now, I did not know that I was suffering from a disease. And I do believe that addiction is a disease. And a disease is something that is considered progressive in nature, meaning it always over time will get worse, never better. And there are stages to a disease. And it can be fatal. And it's predictable. All right. So a disease is predictable, it's progressive, gets worse over time. There are stages. And that is true for drug addiction and alcoholism. And if it's a true addiction to anything else, binge eating also, or anorexia, deprivation, starving, binging, it it can kill you. All right, this is not to be taken lightly. And I was in complete denial about that. I didn't see it. I didn't see the symptoms or the root. I thought you were nuts. I thought you were wrong. I thought you weren't cool. And what I want to go down into tonight is, yes, Laurel's saying it's not a choice. Okay, so this is the point, is that when there's a difference between abuse and addiction. And there are many, many people who abuse all kinds of things, all kinds of things. But that doesn't make them an addict. But there are a couple characteristics of addiction. And one of the main ones, like Laurel is saying, is there's no choice. It's, I have to do this. And I will do this. And you're going to get out of my way. And I'm going to do this. I have to. I have to have that drink. I have to have that pill. I have to have that joint. I have to have that heroin. I have to have that gambling spree, shopping spree. I have to have that cigarette. Now, I know it's so funny because it's been many, many years since I've had a drink, a drug, or a cigarette. And so most of the people in my world for so long never seen me the way I was. And so it's hard for people to wrap their minds around this, but I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I never had a sip of water. I drank diet soda and a pot of espresso. That was the only liquid I had. And I smoked so much that sometimes I couldn't take a breath because my lungs were so full of smoke. And I lived like that. And I took pills for everything. Pills to sleep, pills to stay alert, pills to calm my nerves, pills for aches or stomach aches or pain, or, I lived on pills. And in order to fool myself and think that I wasn't an addict, I would only take pills during the day, except for sleep. And sometimes I didn't take them for sleep because I would just drink till I passed out. And I didn't drink during the day because I went to work. So I drank in the evenings. But once I started, I couldn't stop. And I had to drink in the evening. I had to. Because I was a wreck if I didn't. My head, my mental health, my emotional health, I was a nervous wreck. My physical health, I was uncomfortable in my body in many ways, a lot of pain. And I was worried all the time. I was depressed and anxious. I had a lot of critical voices in my head. There was a whole committee up there that never shut up, and they weren't very nice. And they never left. And I had a million forms of fear that I was trying to shove down and not acknowledge. These were some of the deeper things going on that I was pretending that everything was fine. And I was medicating through spending, shopping, that thrill when you buy all that new stuff. For some people, that's a big thrill. Well, it was for me. And the thrill of that first feeling of, oh God, when you take that drink or eat that ice cream or have that wine, that relief. And so I want to talk for a moment here about the deeper hidden things that are going on. Why did I need such relief? What was I needing relief from? And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever looked around in life and thought, how did they all get the handbook? They got a handbook. Like, I don't know how to live life. I don't know how to handle problems. I don't feel like I fit in. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel smart enough. I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel strong enough. I don't feel fit enough. I don't feel enough of something. Has anyone here on this call today ever felt like you weren't enough of something? Yes, 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 right? Here come the yes, me too. The yes, the yes, the yes, right. And you might even think about the people that you're here that you're concerned about. Maybe you can tell, or maybe they've said this as well. I felt like there was a hole in my self that was so big that I wanted to fill it up with good feelings. And I couldn't fill it up no matter what I tried. And I kept trying to fill that hole. It was an empty, like something is missing, something's wrong, something's not right with me. I took it very personally. I also felt like I was the only one, and so I didn't tell anyone. I kept it all hidden inside. I was not good at sharing my feelings. I wasn't even sure what my feelings were. I grew up pretty much being told, just if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And don't be a Debbie Downer. And, just smile and say everything's fine. And I watched my parents do that. And I learned to do it, and I did it very well. And it almost killed me. And so I'll never forget when I took my first drug. See, this is how it begins. When I took my first drug, even though it terrified me until the day I took my first drug, I got this amazing sense of relief. Like, oh my God, all's right with the world. All of a sudden, I felt beautiful and smart, and I could talk, and I didn't feel introverted, and I didn't feel ashamed or scared. And I was at actually a wedding, a relative's wedding. And I felt like I could get on the dance floor, and I lost that sense of self-consciousness. Anybody ever have that sense of self-consciousness? And so it changed my life, because after that, guess what I wanted? I wanted more of the feeling of that. The feeling of, And I spent the next 14 years in some form chasing the feeling of, of being at home, of being comfortable in my skin. Can anybody relate? So what I didn't know was that I was headed down a very dark path, and that it was disconnected from my spirit of who I really was. So I have come to understand that all dis-ease, including addiction, is a disconnect. I want you to think of it as a disconnect from your good, from your goodness, from your God, from the love, from the feeling of connection to the love, to the enough. And if you feel disconnected from love, you will want something to fix yourself. And most people, if you're like me, are taught to look outside themselves and go there and be like that and look like that and get that guy and get that job and get that amount of money and buy those clothes and eat that food. And are you following me? Like we look outside of ourselves to find a connection to something that makes us feel good. And that's why even a relationship can be an addiction, because you're getting your feel good, you think, from another person. And you get attached to them, and you want to be around them all the time, and you want them and only them. And you hear all these lovely country western songs, I can't live without you. That's addiction. That's not love, that's addiction. Amy's saying, yeah, that's me wanting that feeling of calm. I wasn't allowed to show feelings when I was young. Yeah, and if you live in an atmosphere where there's danger of some kind, especially if there's abuse, neglect, a lot of criticism, maybe you were hungry, maybe one of your parents was sick, when there's chronic illness in the family, it changes everything. And there's just so many different setups where there's a perfect storm brewing, where you may have not felt enough, not felt good enough, and felt that disconnect happening. But here's what I want to point out. Even if you grew up in a horrible environment where there was violence and neglect and abuse, if you started drinking or drugging to mask the feelings, it doesn't necessarily mean you're an addict. The difference is, and this is again where there's a difference of opinion, but I've come to understand, and I've seen it in literally thousands of people. Some people, there's a gradual progression in their use of drugs and alcohol or whatever the form of addiction, and they cross a line where it may have been controllable before, and then they cross some kind of line where it becomes unpredictable and uncontrollable after that, and they can't stop. And some people like myself, I never crossed any line. It was full on the minute I started. The minute I started and felt that relief, that was all I wanted. And it was unpredictable how much I would drink or drug after that. And it was a focus of something I had to have. And I went to great lengths and dangerous lengths. This is what's scary about it, is a true addict will put themselves in harm's way. They'll go into dangerous situations to get the drug of choice. They will exclude family members and spouses and children and neglect the people they really do love to get that drug because the craving is so great. Now, that's not normal. A normal person, if they, and they will experience harm of some kind, maybe car wrecks or destroyed relationships or losing jobs or harming their health in so many different ways, and they still won't stop. And those of you who live with or know or have loved ones that are truly lost in the world of addiction, you know what I'm talking about. It can be very, very ugly, and you look at them and think, are you crazy? Like, don't you see what's happening? But here's what I want to say. You can't logic with this. The person is lost in a true addictive cycle, and you cannot reason with a true addict. There is, and plus, these substances are affecting a certain part of the brain that shuts down the logic and the willpower. Whereas a normal person would see, oh my God, like this is affecting my life in a very negative way. I'm going to stop this. And I'll give you an exaggerated example. So if you're wondering, like if someone had said to me, you have to give up carrots for the rest of your life or you're going to die from this. I mean, I like carrots, but I would give up carrots. It would be not that big of a deal. But if someone had said to me years ago, you have to never drink wine again or you're going to die from it. Holy cow, are you kidding? Like, how could I ever do that? I would be angry. I'd be very upset. And I wouldn't know how I could live without it. Do you see the difference? It's an extraordinary difference. And it's not about controlling it for a period of time. Again, in my opinion, I have seen over the years, and working in the field and both in myself and others, that it really is a very progressive situation when there's true addiction. Someone can drink for 30 years and stop and drink uncontrollably and get sober and stop completely for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And if they pick that drink up again, they are typically right back, if not worse than they were when they left off 20 years earlier. It's as if it was progressing without them drinking at all. And this is the mystery part. I'm not sure that they have fully understood this or explained this yet, but I've seen it again and again and again and again. And the consequences get worse, the health gets worse, all of the relationships, everything just gets so much worse. And so the idea that, well, I'm highly addicted now and I could just stop for a while, clean up my act, get it under control, and then go back to normal social drinking or whatever it is, whatever the drug of choice is, I've not seen that work. And so I personally, this is my personal belief and opinion and practice, I don't believe in start and stop and controlled addiction, habits. I don't believe it's possible, nor do I want to test it. And now, had you told me all those years ago that I would be able to stop or that I would lose the craving, I would have told you you're nuts. Never in a million years. I had an overwhelming craving to eat sweets, to sometimes overeat food I didn't even like, just eat and eat and eat and eat. And I know some of you wrote great questions that you sent in earlier. I have them here. And there were a lot of comments about, why am I standing here eating this food? I can't stop and I don't even like it. And I feel sick. That's addiction. And it's very, very harmful. Lori's saying, I have a really bad habit of shopping till I drop. What if I feel like I'm not hurting anyone but myself? I think I'm just lonely and shopping fills the void. Well, you're probably right. I'm sure it's giving you a high. It's creating our bodies are a pharmacy. So our bodies produce endorphins, dopamine. They give, all kinds of great feel-good chemicals are produced in our body from different things. And that's no different. That's why I'm saying a drug is a drug is a drug. And when you find your drug of choice, you're getting a high from it. And it becomes addicting because you associate the feeling with the event. So for me, it was, I felt amazing when I had that first drug. So I was chasing that feeling for 14 years. I don't know that I ever felt the same wonderful high as I did that very first time. And as time went on, maybe I felt it for a little while, and I got the relief. But as time went on and it progressed, I felt worse and worse. The repercussions of it all, it was horrible. And yet I kept doing it because I couldn't stop. And so if shopping gives you that high, and you associate the feeling with the shopping and you keep doing it to get the feeling, you're right. You might just be lonely and shopping is filling the void. And then you're then become addicted to that chemical that you're flushing through your system. And so we have to, and I'll talk about, Amy saying it's tough to be addicted to a person who passes away. Well, again, but if you got your feel good from a person outside yourself, then we can get addicted to anything. I'm telling you, people get addicted to all kinds of things. It's the feelings that you are getting that you have associated with the drug of choice. And a drug of choice definitely can be a person. Now, part of the solution, I'll talk a little more about that in a moment, but we have to interrupt the pattern. Again, those of you in my pain-free living program, I talk about patterns, how everything that's pain is a pattern. Any kind of painful pattern, it's a habit, it's thoughts, it's emotions, it's the chemicals rushing through us, and they lead to the choices that we make. And the choices we make when they repeat, become a habit. And then the habits become patterns over time. And your whole life becomes a pattern. And it's often unconscious. And so then you think it's happening to you and you feel out of control. And it's like, whoa, you don't even realize you've created that pattern by all the choices, which are connected to the thoughts and the feelings that you're either aware of or not aware of. You may be stuffing, and you may not have the tools. Most people don't have the tools for quieting down the mind and releasing those emotions. They just think certain thoughts, then they don't like those thoughts, so they try to make the thoughts go away because the thoughts generate these feelings, and then they're even more uncomfortable and more afraid and more upset and more scared. So they got to do something with those feelings to get them to stop because they don't know what to do with those feelings. So what do? They drink, they drug, they run. You can get addicted to exercise to mask addiction. And exercise can become an addiction. You can be running or jogging or any type of exercise to mask the emotional pain. You can become addicted to meditation to escape a miserable life. Meditation isn't always healthy. Yes, you heard me say that. Anything can become an addiction. You will know the difference when you might prefer to meditate, but you don't have to. Someone said it earlier in the chat, when you have to, that's not a choice, that's an addiction. And so for the solution, we have to interrupt that habit, that pattern. We have to bust up the pattern and create a new pattern. And you cannot create a new pattern and become a new person with the old ways of thinking, the old ways of feeling, the denying of feelings, the denying of thoughts, the denying. And I have never, in any of the types of people, problems, pains, diseases that I have worked with over 30 years now, I have never seen more greater denial anywhere than those that are addicted to drugs, alcohol, drugs, your drug of choice, especially drugs and alcohol. There's a ton of denial. Oh, that's not me. I don't have that problem. I don't drink in the morning. I don't drink, I still have a job. I don't shoot heroin. See, I did that. That's why I had no clue, because I had a misunderstanding. Number one. Number two, I didn't want to look at myself. That's really honest. I didn't want to look at myself. I wanted to blame you. Well, if I had a better job, I wouldn't have to drink. I thought my ex-husband was the problem. I really did. I blamed so much on him. He's a great guy. But if he would change, I'd be happy. If he would do this, I wouldn't have to drink. Oh, he pisses me off so much. See, I blamed people. I blamed institutions. I blamed friends and family and coworkers and the news. And I could blame anything as an excuse for not looking at myself. Do you hear me? Are you with me? Yeah. The blame game will keep you stuck. That's number one. The blame game is a dead-end road. It will keep you stuck. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning. There may be people doing really horrible things that you need to get away from or correct or stop tolerating. I'm not suggesting you be at peace living with abuse. Don't hear me. Don't misunderstand. But if you wait for someone else to change and you blame your drug of choice on them or the circumstances, oh, if I had more money, oh, if I had different parents, oh, if he wasn't so mean, oh, if I got promoted, if I were more beautiful, if I were smarter, got this education. You see, all of that blame keeps you stuck. You'll never recover and fill that hole with the blame game. It's got to stop. And, when you're little, when you're young, you may have really been a victim of someone or something. But when you're older, you perpetuate these problems by being stuck in the blame game. That's what I did. And it kept me stuck for 14 years. And it darn near killed me. All right. And I wasn't willing to look at myself. And fortunately, there was a person I finally, many of you heard my story, but I really did finally, I crashed and burned one day. And I couldn't keep forcing myself to live in so much pain, physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, living with the pills and the drinking and the eating. Oh my God, the eating. I empathize with all of you who are suffering. It's just not fun. Even if it had been fun years ago for a little while, it doesn't become fun when it progresses and gets worse. It's an ugly revolving door. It's ugly. It ruins and destroys relationships, ruins your health. And so one day I couldn't fake it anymore. I couldn't pretend everything was fine. And you have to remember, I could have gone further down. It could have gotten a lot worse. I still had a great job, a husband, a house, and material things. If it progresses, and it does for many, many people, they lose everything. I'm talking everything. They're with drugs and alcohol, and it can be true for other drugs of choice, but there's really 3 roads that it leads to. Addiction leads to some kind of institution, like a mental institution, a hospital. It leads to death in many, many cases, or it leads to recovery. There's really not a lot of other choices that I'm not aware of any other choices. If you stay with a heavy addiction and some people, it's not about even the length of time. Some people, it progresses very rapidly. I've known women, for example, who within a 1-year time period went from drinking, really for the first time, all the way to the crash and burn stage. And someone in the chat is saying, I'm there, I can't pretend things are okay anymore. You know what I want to say to you? You're in the best place ever, admitting that and knowing that. The worst is when people deny it. Because when you say, I'm there, uncle, I surrender, I can't take it anymore, I can't pretend things are okay anymore. And if you're willing to get help, you see, that's what I finally became willing to get help. And that's when everything changed. And I can promise you, the best is yet to be. The best thing you could ever do is find one person that you trust and admit the truth to them. If you say, I give, I'm there, whatever it takes, I want a new life, believe me, you are, this is your birthday. It's now July 22nd. It's 5:44 in California. Happy birthday, Bridget, because you are about to embark on a new life. If you really mean that and you're open to getting help, and I'm happy to help you. There are many people that can help you. And if you don't want help from me, then I will even refer you to people. I just want you to get the help you need, because I'd be dead. I'll tell you right now, there's no way I was headed for suicide. I was having suicidal thoughts. That's where it leads. You see, alcohol is a depressant. So I was depressed all the time, and I kept taking pills to feel happier, higher, right? Get the relief. But then I was drinking and I was taking drugs that were making me feel depressed. And then I would eat, candies and cakes and chocolates and ice cream by the pint, and to try to get that sugar high. And then I would feel sick from that. And then I would start it all over again the next day. I mean, my God, you see the insanity of this way of living, right? It just doesn't work for long. And so some people over a very short time will crash and burn. Other people, it could go on for years. I know people 20, 30, 40, 50 years go on like this. But I also know their health really declines. And they were, I was pretty high functioning. Not that I wanted one more day feeling like that, but compared to a lot of people, I was very high functioning, and I'm grateful for that. However, I will share with you that I thought I had permanent brain damage. For 6 months into my recovery, I couldn't read or write. because I couldn't focus as I was detoxing from all of this. And I will tell you, I was terrified. I thought I had permanent brain damage. And so for me, I took a very holistic approach, which those of you that know me might expect. But I changed the way I ate. I changed my daily habits. I spent time in nature every day, getting sunlight, fresh air, exercise. I went back to the gym. I went to yoga. I started to meditate daily. I started reading books that were of a spiritual nature. I started really, really looking at myself. This is how I came to create the Pain-Free Living program, because I discovered that the key ingredients for healing involved me examining my belief systems and throwing most of them out. I had to unlearn and relearn so much, so much. And I had to discover the emotions. They were all buried. And I was out of touch, completely disconnected from my emotions. And I had to learn that emotions are just energy. It's okay to have feelings and let them come up and feel them. They're not going to kill you. And they will actually release as you start to acknowledge them and find a safe space with a trusted mentor or guide that you can share the truth with. The truth is the shortcut. Being honest about what you think, how you feel, what's not working. We live in a world that really, we've got this movie star thing where everybody looks perfect. And you think that you compare yourself to how they look on TV, and they don't have a wrinkle on their face, their makeup's perfect, there's no frizzy hair, there's no flab on their bodies, and you think, well, I'm not like that, I want to be like that, there's something wrong with me, I'm defective, I'm not enough. Now, this is not reality, people. Real people have bad days where they're just not feeling at the top of the world. They don't look great. They're angry about something. They get irritable and restless. They get fired. Somebody leaves them. Their kids are sick. Life is full of stuff, challenges. This smiley, happy, ideal thing is make-believe. And there doesn't make you a bad person to have an off day. We all need love and support. We all have, the human condition. Somebody said earlier in the chat, isn't that just the human condition? Yes, the human condition is full of ups and downs and all arounds. And when we become involved in a process of mastering our inner world, then we can learn the secrets to stabilizing and the secrets to serenity and the secrets of becoming the eye of the storm. This is what I teach because, look, we can't control life. And addiction is all about control. And if you don't think it is, keep doing what you're doing for a few more years and you will find you'll get to a place, most likely, or you'll see other people do this, where you're trying to control it, because it's really out of control. And some part of you knows that. And so I know, again, in my case, some part of me knew things were really out of control. So then I got really into trying to control everything. Control what you thought of me, control what you saw. And I started isolating more and not letting people in. And I started hiding. This is why you've seen alcoholics hiding out their bottles and hiding their pills and hiding their food. And people start hiding it from themselves because they don't want to acknowledge they have a problem. I did it. Yes. It's our own way of hiding it from ourselves. It's part of that denial I was talking about. So, all these things are red flags. And if you're kind of feeling sick to your stomach from some of the things I am sharing today, I get it, I do. But it's a good thing to open your eyes, come out of the denial, and recognize there's hope, there's help, and it's maybe easier than you think. And one last thing about this, I was bankrupt in the area of spirituality. And this was the biggest key secret to the healing process. So back then, if you had even said the word God to me, I would have been out that door in about 2 seconds flat. Don't go there with me. It made me angry. I wanted nothing to do with anything spiritual. Can you believe this? Those of you that know me, can you believe this? I mean, I would never in a million years have thought the transformation that I've been through. That's why I said, if you, unless you knew me way back, you may not recognize like how different I am and my life is, because there's no way in hell that I would ever be able to tell you that someday spirituality would be the biggest, most important thing in my life, and that I would end up helping people in this area. I wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing. Zero. So, but what I discovered was it was the greatest area of bankruptcy in my life. That's where the disconnect was. And I've come to understand that all sickness, all disease, yes, even physical pain, is that disconnect I was telling you about. It's a spiritual problem. It's a spiritual disconnect. And if you can insert the word love, universe, nature, it doesn't have to be a, I don't have a human God. I do call God, God. But, and you'll have to, and I'm not here to tell you how to think or what to believe or to follow me. We all need to have our own relationship that's very real for us, a spiritual relationship with something greater than our personality. And that's often the problem. At the root of any disease is that we think we're alone in the universe and it's all on our shoulders, and it's exhausting and it hurts and I don't know what to do and I feel out of control. It's a scary place if I'm here all alone with no higher power. And again, there's a lot of debate about this. There's lots of recovery from addictions programs that don't endorse this. So this is my opinion, and it's not really my opinion, it's my experience. And once you have an experience, no one can take that away from you because it's real. And I had, as you know, many of you know, I've had several profound spiritual experiences that truly changed my life. One of them completely removed my compulsive craving to do drugs and drink. And I've never had a drink or a drug again. Never. It's been 35 years. And that came from a spiritual experience. It was nothing I did. Don't give me any great, oh, you're so strong, Debora. That was not the case. It was no greatness of mine. It was no smartness. It was not my brain. It was not my intelligence. It was not my willpower. It was not doing it perfectly. It was a spiritual experience because I started seeking a higher power. Seeking is the key word. And I found that higher power. And it has morphed and changed over the years. But I will tell you that I really have come to believe that we're human beings having a we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I've had the experience of that, which has really helped every area of my life, everything. And so I was able to develop a relationship that's personal with my higher power. And that when you have a connection to a higher power, new power flows in. That's what's so exciting. It's not that I feel powerless all the time and I don't know what to do. And you have a new power to go to connect with, to get answers and clarity and inspiration and feelings and so many things. Support, courage, strength, guidance. And so you may want to call your higher power, you may think of it as your intuition. Great. Yes. And that has been a game changer in every area of my life. And so now I recognize that the source of the love, it's not from a person. People are going to let me down. I can live with that today. I don't like it, but people will let me down. But that doesn't mean it has to ruin my life or even my day. I had some things happen today. Didn't like it one bit. But today I have tools for keeping calm. I used to just blast people, ruined relationships. I had to tell them what what they were and give them my opinion, my great opinions, and try to hurt them in order to make myself feel better. That doesn't work. There's a wonderful quote from the Dalai Lama that says, you blast everyone else, and it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. So my anger, my resentments, my big judgmental opinions, it only harms me. All right, who's with me? Who's following? And who has had some awareness here so far today? Anybody? I know a couple of you have been in the chat been saying. So yeah, okay, good. A lot of you, great. Let me look in the Q&A, and I want to start answering some of the specific questions that came in. Tammy's saying, I overcame a cocaine addiction back in 1996, and I abused alcohol because I now know I was running from my feelings. What I am still addicted to is smoking cigarettes. And I didn't want to tell you because you choose not to be around smokers, LOL. Yeah, that's true. I won't date a smoker, okay? And I won't live with a smoker, but I still love you, Tammy. And I'm glad you choose to be honest. So Tammy's saying, I believe I'm still running and need a crutch. Okay, so a couple things, with these addictions like smoking, one of the things it does is you've gotten in the habit of taking a deep breath when you smoke, even though you're ruining the ability to take a deep breath. If you started practicing the deep belly breathing that I taught you in the Pain-Free Living program, it would help you overcome this. Now, I was a horrible smoker, 2 packs a day. It was not easy. Ooh, in fact, it's probably the hardest of all were the cigarettes. And so a couple things I can recommend. One, I had acupuncture for specific points to help with the cigarette smoking, because what happens is it's the toxins that your body starts to alleviate, to eliminate. And when you stop whatever the addiction is, especially cigarettes, you start to feel, I remember like it was yesterday, I felt like I didn't know how to tie my shoes, the brain fog and the irritability. But see, if you bump up nutrition, that's what I did. When I say I helped myself holistically, so I bumped up my nutrition, I got the exercise, so I'm sweating every day, I'm getting the toxins out, I'm doing deep breathing, I'm meditating, I'm in nature, I'm walking, I'm reading something inspirational, I'm learning new tools like we learn in Pain-Free Living program, I'm working on my beliefs, my emotions. When you do all of these things together, and you help your body with high-speed healing, the energy healing is really powerful for this, and acupuncture helps as well. When you do those, when you support yourself going through it, and you just know ahead of time, you're going to have about 3 days that might feel like hell. You can handle that for 3 days. What has to happen is you make a decision. You have to make a decision that I don't want to do this anymore. And you ask for your higher power to help you make it easier. And you do the high-speed energy healing with me. You make sure you sweat every day. Everything I've mentioned, you can do this if you really, really want to. I remember the day that I knew I had to quit smoking and was going to. I was married walking up the stairs to our apartment. I'll never forget it. I hope I never forget it. And I had a bag of groceries in my hand. And I was walking up a flight of stairs, one flight of stairs to the apartment on the top floor. And I couldn't get up the stairs without gasping for breath. You would have thought I had just done an hour and a half of cardio exercise. I couldn't breathe. I was worn out from holding a bag of groceries. And I was young, really young. And I went, oh my God, this is scary. I have to do something. And that's the day I just threw in the towel. And in those days, I didn't have, the energy healing had not happened for me yet. I didn't know yet what that was. And the only thing I knew how to do was go to acupuncture, and I did that. And it helped. It's still, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy. If I had all the tools I have now, it would have been much easier. So you can do it. Now, the next question is, you're welcome, Tammy. Bridget's saying, I'm on board. I know I'm at the right place at the exact right time. You really are. And no accidents, I'm telling you. The next question is, Deborah, you talked about effective communication before. Can you do a talk on this? Yes, I will do a mini course. So I have something new to announce. I keep saying this, and I don't mean to be a tease, but we keep trying to get it ready, and it's going to be ready next week. But I am about to make something new available to all of you who have been in the High Speed Healing Wednesdays. A new universe where you'll be able to come in, and there'll be mini courses on where I have more time to do deeper dives on a lot of these topics. And we'll be able to go deeper together on this. And I can teach you in little sprints, a lot more about different things. So those of you that are not ready for my advanced pain-free living program, I get it. Some people just aren't willing or able or ready for that. And I don't really have anything. I haven't had anything that was, a mini bite, a mini taste. Now I do, I will. And I hope all of you, especially, if you've liked the High Speed Healing Wednesdays, this is going to be an extension of that. I'm not going to be doing free High Speed Healing Wednesday every week, okay? But there will still be a free High Speed Healing Wednesday once a month. And then we'll have another place where you can come and go deeper with me, but just in mini bites so that you can easily digest it. You can pick and choose the ones you want. And I can go deeper on subjects like the communication little mini course I teach is so powerful. And this is one of the big problems, Deborah, as you know, that we can ruin relationships like that based on the way we're communicating. So I will definitely do that. Elena is saying, looking back at my life, I've come to realize I had an addiction to sadness. Oh, I can so relate to this. I've been experiencing it since I was 10 for no obvious reason, which seems to come from past lives and generations. No matter how much I've worked on it or choose joy and happiness, sadness pops up sooner or later in my life, especially after the death of a loved one, and it robs me of so much as I'm drowning in its bottomless pit of tears and grief. So, Elena, I can really identify with this. I had it myself, and I don't have it anymore. But I noticed the same thing. And sadness and depression was common in my family. And so I do think there can, we learn the environment we grow up in is really critical to forming the foundation of what feels like home to us. And sadness can feel like home, even though it's killing us and it's not fun. And so again, it requires a rewiring and an interruption of the pattern. And it doesn't mean you'll never feel sad again. But what I can tell is that you have not released the root yet. And look, I know it feels like you've done everything and worked on yourself for years. Everyone says that to me, and I know it does feel like that. But I have found that the high-speed healing that I offer really does get to the root. And some of the people in here today will testify to this. Like even people who have worked on themselves for 20, 30 years, things change in my program. We get to it. And so you can either email me and work with me privately, or you can come into the group and we will get it. We will break that habit of sadness because you have an addiction. You know, sadness is releasing a chemical and you've gotten addicted to it, and it needs an interruption from a higher vibration, a frequency that you're not able to think yourself into. You need a leg up. And that's what I provide with the energy healing. So please reach out to me and let me help you with that. There's no need to feel addicted to that for the rest of your life and drown in a bottomless pit of tears. No, it's horrible. I used to do the same, and I would cry and cry, and then I would drink wine, which is a depressant, and then I would cry and cry even more. I mean, it's awful. Amy's asking, can grieving someone you love have similar traits to letting go of an addiction? Well, yes, if you put a lot of your happiness, if you thought you were getting it from that person, you may have an addiction to a person. I definitely was addicted to people, and I would take them hostage, thinking that it was love and I can't live without you. And no, it wasn't love, it was addiction. So, you know, it's a form of the codependency cycle that's underneath the addiction. And so, again, grieving is natural. And so you'll have to, you know, I would have to know more and talk with you further to help you sort that out. But grieving loss is natural. But if it goes on and on and on and on and on and on, and you don't ever go through the stages and get to the resolution, then there's something happening, and it has to do with your thinking and your emotions that's feeding the continuation of this pattern in some way. Galaxy Tab, I love that name, Galaxy Tab, said, I was doing a healing, one of my biofield energy healing sessions every night. She said, I could operate much better. Absolutely. When you let me help you work in your energy field, and you practice the other tools I teach you in Pain-Free Living program, you will find that your life will get better. You have to fight me for it to get better. You really would. You'd have to fight me and just not do anything for it not to get better. And I don't know any faster way than using what I call high-speed healing. It's the biofield clearing, where I work in your field. And that's where all the disturbances and the patterns are. They're imprinted in your field, in your energy field, your biofield. And the fastest way is for me to help work clearing your field. It's not, you know, I'm not saying it doesn't help to clear beliefs and emotions. It does, because you're feeding your field information every day. And if you don't change your thinking and change your emotions, your field keeps going back to the old pattern, and the field is informing the body. So you keep the cycle of addiction going, or pain, or whatever disease that you've got going on, whatever condition, you're feeding it. So you have to know how you're feeding it, and you can help yourself with what I teach you. But when someone like myself works in your biofield, whoa, Nelly, it speeds everything up. And it could take 10 years talking about it and clearing beliefs and all these things. It just speeds all of that up, and you become aware of things much quicker that are unconscious, number one. And number two, it releases things that you'd never even have to talk about. Many people release trauma and pain and things that they never have to even shed one tear over. It's just gone from high-speed healing. I'll tell you a quick story. God, how does the time go so fast on these calls? And I will promise you that we'll do, you know, I help people with addictions of all kinds in the Pain-Free Living program, and it's a chance for you to go deeper, either one-on-one or in the group program. And I'll have another high-speed healing Wednesday call at some point on addiction, because it's such an important topic. So many people suffering, especially with the situation now being quarantined. It's bringing people's deepest, most painful stuff to the surface. And this is where a lot of people are out of control with their addictions, with feeling lonely and bored and restless and angry, and people who are now home with their kids and their spouse, where they weren't together 24/7 and they're ready to kill each other. Every day someone calls me and says, I'm getting divorced. I mean, it's really, we're living in a tumultuous time. And I want you to know, look, I can't teach you everything in an hour, but please do not give up hope. The key is being willing to be teachable, to be coachable, to try new things, to reach out and let someone help you, and stop thinking you're going to do it all on your own. And that's humbling. It was hard for me. I was a know-it-all. I was like, oh no, I got this. I don't need any help. No thanks. And that kept me years going longer in my health hell, because I wasn't willing to get help until the day that I did. And from the day that I did, everything changed. And I wouldn't be here with you today, I promise you. I would be locked up in a mental institution, and most likely I would be dead. It sounds dramatic, but it's really the truth. And I've lost a lot of people close to me, have died from addictions. It has not been a pretty sight. So, I could go on and on with the stories of the people I've lost that I loved, because they wouldn't stop, couldn't stop and wouldn't. And, but I want to give you a quick, powerful story of hope, and then we'll stop because I see the time. So this is, I don't know, 6 years ago or so, maybe longer, when I had an office and people came for the biofield healing one-on-one, one at a time. And this was such an amazing example. I had a mother bring her 40-year-old son to my office, and she just, I'll never forget, she made an appointment. I didn't know it was for her son, but, well, I might have known it was for her son, but I didn't know the details. And I didn't know her son was 40. And she showed up at my office with this guy who was he was so high, he couldn't stand up. And she just looked at me. She sat him down on the couch. She looked at me and she said, "Take him. He's yours. I'm done. I can't help him any further. Here you go." And she walked out of the office. And she left me with this 40-year-old son who was very friendly, very nice guy, willing to, experience the energy healing. But literally, like, I had to protect him from falling off the massage table. And he shared with me that he couldn't stop doing heroin or drinking. And it was a daily habit. And he had lost all his job. He had lost everything, couldn't drive. He had his license taken away. He was back living with his mom. He wasn't happy about that, but he had nowhere to go. And she was threatening to throw him out now because he was doing all kinds of, stuff that she just couldn't live with. And so he said, nothing has helped me. Nothing can help me. And I just can't stop. And he got on the table and I did a session. And when I brought, when we finished the session and I had him sit up and I looked at him, first of all, I could visually see he was present. He looked me in the eye. There was somebody home. His eyes were open. His skin tone was different. He looked like, wow, he's back. And I said, "How are you doing? What did you notice?" And he said, "Debora, I have not felt like this in at least 6 years." He said, "I feel amazing." And he stood up. He was completely sobered up from the healing session. And he went back and he went into treatment and he got into a program and he got into recovery. Now, there's something I forgot to mention that I need to mention, which is I am a firm believer in treatment of some kind, in medical detox. I'm a firm believer in medically supervised detox, at least, for a short period of time till it's safe. I am a firm believer. I think certain treatment centers do an amazing job at helping you get on your feet. I am a firm believer in the 12-step programs. I recommend you do not walk, you run to the 12-step programs. Either Al-Anon, if you have someone you love that's suffering, you need to go because it's affecting you and you need help. You need support. You need love. You need tools. I recommend all the other 12-step programs, and there's something for everyone. There's Smokers Anonymous, there's Alcoholics Anonymous, there's Drug Addicts Anonymous, there's Pills Anonymous, there's eating, I forget what it's called. There's Gambling Anonymous, there's Sex and Addicts Anonymous. Like, there's a 12-step program for you. And I highly recommend them. They're amazing. They are a spiritual program that helps you get in touch with that higher power I was talking about. And I know that there are people who disagree with that. That's fine. If you're one of them, you're entitled to that. But I will tell you, for me personally, I love those programs, and I've sent many, many people there, and it's probably the longest standing of any type of help that's available that has lasted through time, and it's free. Now, if you do something like if you do something like the Pain-Free Living program, I tell everyone in there who has addictions, the Pain-Free Living program works, but it won't be enough. You're going to need ongoing support. So some people stay in my alumni program, some people do the Pain-Free Living program and the 12-step program, but don't kid yourself. This is a life or death matter. This is not, some cute little thing you're going to fix on a weekend workshop. You might get relief right away in Pain-Free Living program. Yes. Or like the guy in my office. But this is life or death, and you don't want to play with it. You want to commit to it, and you want to do the work that it needs until you feel free of it. See, I am free. I don't think about drinking or drugs. I'm not worried about it. If I'm around people, I don't even notice it. It's amazing. I don't even notice it. I'm not living with that monkey on my back. I have no cravings. They left years ago. No cravings, ever. And so I'm not living with an active addiction. I'm not happy all the time. I can still get cranky and irritable, but I have the tools for that, and this too shall pass. I'm not living with an active addiction, and you don't need to either. Let's see, there's more messages. All right. Oh my God, I just sensed an addiction to suffering. Yes. Okay, so here's an interesting one. People get addicted to healing and healing modalities, and they got to try another one. And now I want to try this healing and that healing and this. Oh my goodness. Like, you don't need to be addicted to healing either. It's okay to be free, be healthy, and get a life and live a healthy, happy life, and not always be finding something that needs healing. Think about that one. What else? 2 years ago, I had such pain with what the doctor said was an autoimmune disease. I took your one day, she attended my day of healing. I had a 1 day of healing, and she said I shifted in a big way. Now I have this stuff of addiction going on, and I just knew I needed to be here tonight. Oh, I'm so glad, Bridget. It's time for the resolution with this part as well. You see, that's the thing. More is revealed, and we can only handle certain amount of, we come out of denial sometimes all at once and sometimes a little bit at a time. And your higher power will not give you more than you can handle. You will keep it hidden until you're ready. And now it's obviously you're ready for the next chapter. I'm so happy for you. Another comment is, I've been addicted to the fear for feeling the safety. I lived with hypervigilance from a traumatic environment for my whole childhood, walking on eggshells, that, oh my God, what's going to happen next feeling. And yes, that does take a toll on your health. And at some point, it's, you can become addicted to that whole cycle and feeling. And we want to interrupt that. You're welcome, Deborah. I think you're amazing as well. I'm glad you love these talks, and I'm glad you've been coming. You've been very, very committed, and I know you had a lot of suffering going on from way back, and I've watched you. You're a great example to the healing that is possible. You stay teachable, you're open-minded, you're willing, you're coachable. You keep showing up and doing the work. And, I'm watching you transform right before my eyes in that program. And here you are, and this is a separate event, and you're still showing up. That says a lot about you, and that's why you're recovering. Tammy's saying, seeking help for smoking addiction. Yeah. I used to use hypnosis for that, but I found the high-speed healing was faster. So I became a hypnotherapist years ago, and my first private practice, my ex-boyfriend and I, who, by the way, so the love of my life back then, died from a relapse from drug addiction. He was, he and I had a private practice together, and he had been 16 years without a drink or a drug. And something happened in his life, and he got very, very angry over it. And he refused to resolve it in a healthy way. He blamed and was deeply hurt. And that hurt started building up and building up and building up, and he wasn't releasing it. And within less than a year, he needed to, eventually, think about it, eventually those emotions need relief in some form. And an addict will look for the drug of choice to relieve the pain. And that's exactly what he did. And he ended up dead from an overdose of heroin, because he went back to his drug of choice to relieve the emotional pain. So if you don't think this is life and death, I'm telling you it is. And it's not a pretty thing to go through. One other question that was written in, we talked about the cigarettes. People wrote in about cigarettes and eating. Those of you that wrote in about can't stop eating, I want you to try this experiment. And you can do this with cigarettes, do it with drugs, with alcohol, with eating, with gambling, with any addiction that you have. I want you to do this starting now. Let's say you feel that urge to eat coming on, or whatever. You go into the kitchen. I'm going to use food as an example here. You go into that kitchen, you open the fridge, or you find that box of cookies or whatever, and you're ready. Before you take the first one, I want you to stop. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to ask yourself, am I really hungry? Or am I having a feeling? What am I feeling right now? And I want you to stop, and I want you to feel what is really going on inside you. And I want you to do your best to let it come up. And I want you to see what happens when you practice that. And I want you to promise me that you will find someone you trust that you can share that feeling with, or it might be more than one feeling, before you eat the cookies. If you're in the Pain-Free Living program, I want you to go into our Facebook group, and I want you to say, I'm having a moment and I need help. I'm having a weak moment. I'm upset, I'm angry. Instead of repeating the addiction, I want you to stop. I want you to feel into it. I want you to get honest about it. And I want you to reach out to me, to the group, get the help you need before you just eat those cookies. And what you might find is that you no longer want those cookies, because you're addressing the hidden reasons. And if you start practicing that, it will help. And you'll become aware of what's really going on when you're honest. And if you need help with that, reach out and let me help you. It can be scary to do this on your own. See, this is why I'm such a fan of some kind of group or some kind of mentor, because somebody wrote in, this was a powerful question. She wrote in, how can I let go of this addiction without the panic that comes with it? And this is the problem. And it's also why, and I do recommend a medical detox if you've been on drugs and alcohol. It's not, it's terrifying and things can happen. So you want to make sure you're safe physically. But no matter what you're going to withdraw from, even if it's a person or gambling or shopping, you're going to have a sense of panic most likely when you stop because you're breaking a habit and it can feel terrifying. And a part of you is going to go, run, run back to shore. You're going to die without this. So the very thing you're trying to quit, a part of you is going to want you to have it and think you're going to die without it. And this is where it gets tricky and why you need support. And you need to be accountable to somebody other than yourself, because most people won't. You don't have the willpower it takes, because how many of you, come on, be honest, wouldn't you have quit by now if you could have had the willpower to quit before on your own? Come on. If you had the willpower, you would have done it already. If you could have fixed yourself and figured it out, you would have done the healing already on your own. And those of you that say, I've been trying and working on myself for years, there's something you're missing. There's a blind spot. And so you're not going to find it on your own. And that's okay. Just, there's no shame in receiving help from another human being. I had to get over that as well. All right. Any last minute? We have 2 minutes. Last minute chat, comments. I'll respond to the Facebook comments when I get off the Zoom call. I can't thank you all enough. There's been such great, open, honest sharing here today. And I appreciate that you feel safe with me and comfortable to share what's going on with you. And I love you and I care about you. And if my story helps even just one more person stop the cycle of addiction, then my whole horrible journey has been worth it. And I want to say, I don't feel like it's a horrible past anymore. I haven't for a long time. I can look at the past now. There's no charge. I'm not ashamed. I've done the healing work that, it does. I had to go make amends to people because I did affect other people. Somebody wrote in about, I feel horrible about myself because someone's addicted to porn. And he said, I don't know how to forgive myself and love myself. It's a process of certain steps that I would take you through to help you first overcome the pattern, interrupt the pattern, overcome the addiction. And then, there may come a time when you need to go back and make some amends to people. But see, that's what scared me and why I almost didn't want to go into a recovery process, because I was so ashamed of myself and I didn't want to admit my wrongs to anybody. I wanted to keep it hidden, but you can't recover that way. And by the time I was ready to go, to make an amends to people, I was ready. I wanted to do it. So life really changes when you get on a healing path. That's all I can tell you. And Tammy's saying, I needed to hear that I can reach out. Yes, and share your feelings regarding quitting smoking. Absolutely. You have to do that. That's part of the recovery process. Honesty, being open-minded and willing to change. Those are 3 total keys to recovery. 100% honesty with at least one person that you trust who has the tools to help you. It's not like, like I love it when someone says, oh yeah, I went in, I got in a cab. I'll never forget this. When somebody told me, I got in a cab and I told the cab driver, just drive around. I want to tell you what's happening with me. And he told a stranger his story. And then he got out of the cab. Well, okay, he might have felt relief, but that's not going to be enough to keep you long-term away from an addiction. We have to find someone with some tools in their toolkit that can help you when you get scared, when you get panicked, when you get angry, when you want to run back to shore, when you have life throws a curveball like a quarantine at you and you don't know what to do other than run to your addiction. that's when you need tools in your toolbox. So, yeah, great, Tammy. All right, we have come to the end of our High Speed Healing Wednesday, and I am so grateful for every single one of you. Thank you for receiving me with love and right back at you. I care, we care, the whole Chronic Pain Institute cares about you. We're here for you. I have an amazing team of people that will answer and help me, that helps me every day answer emails. We get a lot of them, but we answer every one. So don't hesitate and do something today that your future self will thank you for. Do not lose hope. There really are solutions. All right. Much love, everybody. I will close out these questions now, and you're all so welcome. I love you too. Thanks for being here today. Bye, everyone. Much, much love to you.